Welcome back to the Pistons Jack YouTube channel. On today's episode, we'll be reacting to the news of the Pistons signing 4 new players ahead of training camp. We'll talk about each player's deal, what this means, and their role with the team in just a moment. Earlier today, I woke up to the news per Keith Smith of Spotrac, salary cap guru. I guess he breaks news these days on behalf of Spotrac, and he tweeted out that the Detroit Pistons have signed Charles Bediako. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I probably haven't. My mistake. Dawson Garcia, John Ukomadu. Man, this is bad of me. And Brice Williams to training camp deals. So forgive me for my pronunciation, but as you can see on the right, each of those 4 players, 3 of them should look familiar, particularly if you're a diehard Pistons fan and keep up with news regularly. But the player I want to focus on first, and before we get into the players, but those that aren't aware, training camp deals are essentially what they sound like. So training camp begins, I believe, within the next 10 days. Media Day was announced recently, which I'll touch on at the end of the episode, but it's typically training camp is around then. So training camp begins pretty soon, and that's why these deals have been announced, and these 4 players will be a part of the roster for that 2 to 3 week period, and each of them will be out there helping the Pistons put out, enough players. So they'll have these 4 plus the 14 rostered players, plus, so that would be 18 in total, plus I expect them to probably add another 1 or 2, but these guys will help facilitate training camp so they can, run live practices and that kind of thing. Like I said, it's a short-term contract for the span of training camp. Now, it is worth noting that each of these players have the chance to make the final roster. And whilst it's unlikely, the Pistons do have their 15th roster spot still open. The Malik Beasley situation seems to be at a bit of a halt. And maybe the Pistons are going to go into this season without using it, but each of these 4 players could, in theory, make that spot. If they come out and just absolutely blow the coaching staff away, playing a certain role. Now let's go through each of the players. I'm going to hit on 3 players quickly, and then I want to focus on the player we haven't really discussed before on the channel. So Brice Williams out of Nebraska, he's on the far left there. Himself and Dawson Garcia from Minnesota. Garcia is next to him on the right in the Minnesota jersey. Each of them did suit up for the Pistons on the Summer League team. They finished their 5th years in college last season at the NCAA level. Brice Williams is kind of a scoring forward, has some passing chops. He's around 6'8". Like I said, each of these guys are around 23, 24 years old. So they played the full 4 or 5 years at college. Williams, I think, averaged 20 points, around 6 boards and a couple of assists. Had some moments at Summer League where he hit some threes, and you can kind of see the scoring knack he has at his size. Garcia is like a skilled lefty stretch big. I think he played center at the college level. He'll probably be a stretch big at the professional level, at least if he used to play in the NBA. And we saw him, I think I want to say it was in the Miami game, the 4th or 5th Summer League game when he got some minutes. He showed he could fill it up. He can score the ball, can shoot it from deep, and had a really strong season at Minnesota. I think he's 6'11" from memory. So that's those 2. Like I said, we saw them at Summer League. Then I want to talk about John Ukomadu, who was on the Crews last season, and he was also on the Summer League team in this past July. Had a really impressive first half, I believe. I think it was in their 3rd game against the Timberwolves, where he had like a really nice reverse dunk. He's a guy that came off the street, I believe, and tried out for the Crews. Can't remember if it was last season or the season before, and made the team. So he's a very good athlete at 6'6", 6'7". And I remember at Summer League, he flashed the potential to hit some threes. He's had some highlight moments with the Crews last season. I think he averaged, I'm just pulling it up right here. Last season with the Crews, in 23 minutes, he averaged just under 10 points, 3.5 rebounds, a steal, and almost a block a game. Shot 46% from 3. So kind of that 2-way athletic wing prospect, or mold, I should say. So he will be on the Crews again, I believe, this season. And that takes us to the fourth and final player who was recently traded to the Crews from the Denver Nuggets affiliates, their G League team, and that is Charles Bediako. Like I said, apologies for the pronunciation. I should have checked this before recording, but he's a 6'11" big man, defensive minded. Played the past 2 years on the G League affiliates for the Spurs and then the Nuggets last season. Played 2 years at Alabama. Was projected, like I said, as a defensive big at 7 foot. His college stats, he averaged 6.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, and blocked 120 shots in only 70 games. So around 1.6, 1.7 blocks per game at the college level. That's pretty impressive. And then how many minutes per game? He only played like an average of 19 minutes per game as well. So keep that in mind with the blocks. Pretty impressive. And then the past 2 seasons, so in 23-24 G League season with the Spurs, he only played 5 games. I probably should have looked this up. I'm not sure if he was injured or not, but I find that kind of surprising. 5 games, only 4.9 minutes. But then last season with the Nuggets affiliate, he was able to get a consistent role, 25 minutes a night, averaged 10.5 points, put up, nearly 10 boards as well, so close to a double-double, 1.3 blocks, 0.6 steals, and had 15 double-doubles. So, like I said, 7 foot tall. They do have Tolu Smith on that two-way, as well as Dennis Jenkins and Colby Jones. So, whilst Charles has joined the Crews, he is not technically a two-way player. So some more big man depth, I guess you could say. When I did look up some stuff on Twitter about him, some of like draft Twitter suggested he has some passing chops as well. So that's something intriguing for him at the center position. But those 4 players just signed earlier today. So we may hear a bit more about them at training camp, but maybe one of them pops. And I'm not sure if they have a 4th two-way deal available. I think you only get 3, but you never know. It is rare one of these types of players will make the final roster. Probably incredibly rare, but happy for each of them to get training camp deals, and hopefully this can take them to the places they want to go in their professional career. Now, final piece of news for the day was the Pistons Media Day time and date has been announced. Yesterday, I think Amari Sankofa tweeted it out, and I think the Pistons PR sent out an email to the media outlets that cover the team. Media Day is on Monday, September 29th, beginning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. So for me, that's going to be way too late at night. That's like, I think that's around 12:30. That'll be like a midnight start. So don't expect too much coverage from me, at least as it's all unfolding. But of course, whilst this day can be a bit like repetitive in terms of the lines and sentences we get given, I think the key things to look out for are we're going to hear from Trajan Langdon, we'll hear from Joey Bickerstaff, and we should hear from, you'll definitely hear from the 9 to 10 players in the rotation. I'd expect all 14 players to probably speak. But you will hear from everyone you want to hear from, or the most popular players. And the thing I'm going to be looking out for that I normally do at these media day things is it's always cool to hear from the players, but it's normally a bit of rinse and repeat, but maybe it's a chance to hear what they've been working on this summer. But I'm normally really keyed into what Trajan Langdon and JB Bickerstaff will have to say, because I think from Coach JB, I'm sure he's going to get asked about the rotation, the backup power forward position. How do they plan to address that? I think we've all been speculating that Ron Holland will play a lot of those backup 4 minutes, but we'll get some confirmation on that ahead of the first preseason game. And then for Trajan, it'll be interesting to hear about what they look to do with that 15th roster spot. Are they going to do what they did last year and keep it open all the way until the deadline so they have a bit more flexibility? Because whilst they don't have open salary cap, that it does allow them to bring back additional players if they want to trade out a big salary, bring back a couple of smaller ones. It does have some flexibility, not as much as last season, because last season they had, I think, like 10 to 12 million of actual cap space. So that's where it was more valuable, but it is something that can be used, especially with that traded player exception. So that they have of around 14 million. So those are things I'll be listing out for. Let me know in the comments what you look for at Media Day. If you have any thoughts on these players that were recently signed, drop a comment below, especially if you're like a big college basketball fan. I'd love to hear any additional insights on some of these players. But appreciate you all watching, as always. But until next time, go Pistons.